Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the middle of December. Yes, we are crawling towards Christmas, which sure everybody wants a break. But before that, we've got a wonderful business spotlight interview today. We've got Jason from Siltech. Jason, tell us all about your business.
Hi, we're a business. We've been in business in one or two forms for about 40 years in the Nottinghamshire area. In our current form for about 20. And we specialise in manufacturing colour change technology. So inks or coatings that change colour or do something with colour. Now, people often ask, well, what sort of things? We really have two main areas. I mean, one is medical sterilisation. 95% of people never realise this, but if you go to a hospital, if they use equipment, if they use materials that has been sterilised, and so they're big sterilisation equipment, we make indicators and inks for people to print indicators to show that those things are sterile. And to give you some idea, last year we produced enough ink for about 12 billion sterilisations. That's, you don't have one operation per sterilisation, it's 3 or 4 lumps of kit. So it's enough for everybody on the planet to have had 2 or 3 operations where at least they're not going to catch any nasty diseases or sepsis or anything like that. The other thing we do is an awful lot of inks that change colour for packaging, and that's primarily for environmental reasons. So it's to reduce packaging waste and to make a positive impact to the planet and the environment.
That's absolutely amazing. So it changes colour. How does it do it? How do you do it?
Without wanting to get too technical and lose people, it's all about energy. So if you think about a snowball is white, and when it heats up, it goes clear. That's because when heat energy is applied, it's changed the crystalline state of the snow. In our case, it's predominantly chemical changes. But so we can have, for example, labels that go directly on your packaging for your carriers. I'm not going to name them, but we all know, the brown envelopes that come through from that grey van, and they've all got 2 or 3 different labels on them for various parts of their supply chain. Where it's come from a manufacturer, where it's come from picking, where it's come to you, and it's got a different label on it. Each one of those labels is probably not recyclable. If they were to put our ink directly on the packaging, they could write that information, and it's 100% compostable, 100% recyclable, so the entire packaging can go to the waste.
Oh, right. So that's absolutely amazing. And also within the medical industry. So are we putting the ink on like the packs that the say for example scalpels etc. are in, on things like that?
Yeah, the scalpels, the curtains that go around your bed are steam sterilised. Scrubs are often steam sterilised. Endoscopes, all sorts, and that is moving far more now into the food industry as well. So particularly things like soft fruits and vegetables, peppers, herbs are often being gamma sterilised. There's no danger with that. It's less radiation than you would get from microwaving something, but it just means that all the bugs and nasties on that are dead, and so it can stand the shipping process and allows us to have tomatoes in January and strawberries in November.
Absolutely fascinating. So how did you get involved with this?
This company was set up by my father-in-law 40 years ago, and when he retired, I took over. And so I'm a physicist by qualification. We're a chemistry organisation by trade. Getting my head around that is a little bit difficult sometimes. To sort of look at things and go, wonder what that is. It's fun. It's great.
And did you always want to take over a business and own your own business?
I don't think I ever thought about it. I mean, bearing in mind, I mean, you're in your late 20s, aren't you? And I'm sort of in my mid-50s now. And I'd spent a lot of time at the coalface of sort of the IT industry and manufacturing industries, where it was fairly high pressured. And I started hearing more and reading more of people's stories where they were perhaps not as fulfilled as they could be in the day-to-day grind. And so I didn't set out to set up a business that changed that, but that's where we wanted to be. So I'll give you a prime example. LinkedIn, bless them, lovely LinkedIn. Lady posting to say that she's now looking for a job because she's been laid off by her company because she was consistently 5-10 minutes late, because often the school run makes life difficult. And I'm sat there thinking, well, why have you laid her off? Surely it's easier just to say, actually, if I get rid of you, I've got to find somebody else to do your job. I've got to train you. I've got to, spend money on that and time and everything. Why not just change the hours around and make things flexible for people? And I appreciate that sometimes there aren't, train drivers. You can't just turn up whenever you like, but there should be an element of flexibility and putting people first rather than profit.
Absolutely, 100%. So, with the benefit of hindsight, knowing what you do now, what would you do differently?
Oh, I was at this. I was at Siltech for 7 years before I took over, and I think in the benefit of hindsight, I would have liked to have known far more of what was going on in areas that I wasn't directly involved in. That's not micromanagement, but I'd like to understand more about those areas, because sometimes it's really easy to sort of come in from the outside and say, "That'd be fun, but why are we doing this?" And invariably, there's a really good reason for it. But understanding how every part of the business works and how every part of the business impacts on other bits is the key to really knowing where you're going. And I think that comes down to, I mean, the word many people use is success. Now that's a very amorphous concept. What the first thing you need to do as a business owner is to define what success is for you. And it may not be the same as for anybody else. It could be that it's to have a £1 million turnover. It could be to have a Lamborghini for every day of the week. In our case, we want to make sure that we have no debt, no owings. We don't lease, we buy capital equipment and we save up for it. We don't owe anybody any money, and our bills are paid at the end of the month, and everybody has a decent salary that they can go away with. That's what defines success for us, that everybody's happy.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic. So what do you see as the main challenges moving forward?
Honestly, the main challenge I think at the moment is compliance, regulatory compliance. And this isn't a Brexit bashing thing, but we are starting to see, especially in the chemical industry, more and more divergence between standards. And a lot of people will turn around and say, well, you just don't worry about the EU standards. Well, that doesn't really work, because a lot of certainly our onward customers will then manufacture products that come back into the EU, so they have to meet those standards anyway. Yeah. So we have people in Brazil and Paraguay and Southeast Asia who insist on our products meeting the EU standards for food, for chemicals in food or chemicals in pharma. And we're not going to have 2-3 production lines for different standards. You're always going to go for the standard that addresses the biggest market you've got.
Yeah.
So at the moment, that regulatory divergence is a bit of a problem. Exporting has made a hell of a difference to our business. We now find that 70-75% of our products are shipped overseas. That is great, except that it now extends our requirements for time, training, understanding a lot more, and makes our sales process slightly longer. It's no good just chucking the product at somebody and saying, there you go. They need to understand how it works and what they do with it. So that's added a level of complexity that is interesting. It's interesting. Yeah.
Fantastic. So how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I would say I balance it really, really well. My wife and kids, who apparently I have got a wife and kids, but I haven't seen them in months. No, they would say that I'm a little bit obsessed with labels and labeling. But I try. It's not a switch off at 5 o'clock thing anymore. And holidays have often been now. Oh, I said I'll just pop in there whilst we're in France. I'll pop into. And I think that takes a toll, but the wife and kids are fairly used to it now.
Yeah, so you're a label geek.
Absolutely, go around Aldi going, oh, look at that, oh, gold foil and embossing. I like that.
Fantastic.
So
for the final question, what is the best advice you'd give to an 18-year-old you?
Don't listen to anybody else's advice. Which is ironic because I'm giving it now, but your business, you're the expert in your business. Do something that you're going to enjoy, because it doesn't matter whether you're a business owner, self-employed or employed. But if you're going to do something every day for 50 years, if you don't enjoy it, that is going to be a long slog. You have to enjoy what you're doing. It's not that every day is going to be a great sunshiny day, but and lots of people will tell you, oh, you should be doing this. And if you only did that, but they don't understand your business as well as you do. You need to understand that you take responsibility for it, you take the risks, you take the benefits, and it is your decision. Listen to advice, but don't necessarily heed it.
Brilliant. What a wonderful way to finish. Jason, thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.